With the tax season kicking off and IRS starting to process 2023 returns, here are a few ways to get money faster and reduce mistakes that are causing delays. I mean, who doesn't want to get their money back if you get a tax or federal refund from the state or federal government? Although most tax credits are non-refundable, which means the tax credit can only reduce your liability to $0. However, there are refundable tax credits that pay out in full, and you may be entitled to an entire amount of the credit regardless of income or liability. If the tax credit reduces the tax liability to $0, then you will get a refund in this case. These refundable tax credits include 1. Child tax credits, 2. Earned income tax credits, or maybe 3, maybe you fall in this category, the American Opportunity Tax Credit and Premium Tax Credit in this case. To be really more specific, you gotta take a look of those in other videos or in one of my other videos. So now expect to get a refund if you overpay your taxes during a year. This happens when taxes are deducted from your paycheck every time you get paid by your employer. Now, avoiding overpaying is also important, so make sure you fill out your W-4 correctly and update if you experience a significant life change, such as, let's say you got into a marriage, or you have a new freelance job. Because if you get into a marriage, you get a different type of tax benefit. This could include your child tax benefit, or if you have a new freelance job, do you have a new type of income source coming in? Then you can say you fill out 1099, like I mentioned in my previous videos. And if you fill out 1099, then it's a whole new can of worms you open. Now, typically, you get a refund when you overpay taxes throughout the year. As of December 29th, the average refund for last year's filing was around $3,167, which is quite a lot if you think about it, which is about 2.6% smaller than the year of 2022, according to CNBC. So it sounds a lot, but at the same time this is only the average that people are willing to participate in this survey by CNBC. Now, according to the IRS filing, electronically and selecting direct deposit is the best way to get your refund. Of course, there are other methods to get your refund back, but direct deposit is the most efficient way and least risky way, let's say for someone stealing your mail, which steals your refund too. There's a chance of that happening, and it has happened to a lot of people before. Now, you need to be accurate on your taxes and to get all the necessary tax forms to file a complete return. Now, otherwise, if this is the case, you don't file it correctly, the IRS may flag for missing information. So always be sure to double check with your accountant before you file a tax return. Maybe you use TurboTax. Then double check on your TurboTax return, you have filed everything correctly. You fill all the numbers correctly. If you get a 1099 from another employer, make sure you fill out those numbers correctly. Now, some common tax errors are very simple, such as you have inaccurate social security numbers, maybe you misspell a name, or maybe you are inputting incorrect numbers in this case. Because make sure to double check, because every mistake you make, they will come back to bite you. Because when you file the return, how they double check is your employer also files a return. If the numbers don't match, they will come back and send a notice, which is, at this point, no one wants that. Most taxpayers receive their refund within an average of 21 days of submitting their return. But there is a longer timeline if you are claiming the child tax credit or earned income tax credit. Now, on average, it's about 21 days, but this only applies to basically in the average case. But most recommended, I would file the tax return on usually like the week before it's due, or some people like to push it last minute because sometimes there are a law that changes, like for example, the child tax credit policy. So a lot of people are pushing it. So when they implement a new child tax credit policy to take advantage of that. So just do your due diligence and take a look what the IRS is doing, where are they planning. Then you can check what time or due date you want to submit your tax return. Of course, some people say earlier is better, but it really depends on your situation. Every single person's situation is different. Checking your payment status via the Where's My Refund tool, which provides more details this season, including the action needed from taxpayers. Now, typically, refunds are issued either checks sent by the US mail, which I personally highly do not recommend, or direct deposit into the taxpayer's bank account, which most people should select because it makes it a lot easier, it's digital. Now, if they screw that up, that's on their fault. Now, if they send out mail and it gets stolen, most of the time you will be liable for it. They will not take responsibility for it. So do keep that in mind if you still want to go to basically a pen and paper route. Most refunds are issued within a few weeks of when the taxpayer files their tax return. Now, however, this may take longer. Let's say, for example, the taxpayer who claims a EITC won't receive their refunds before March, as the law requires the IRS to hold on to these refunds due to years of fraudulent filings for the credit. Just in general, keep in mind when you file a tax return, a lot of people like to file last minute, and when you file last minute, keep in mind your accountant is a person too. If you're gonna give all your work to your accountant and expect them to finish in the last second, expect at times there will be an extension, or sometimes they won't even finish it. So a lot of people like to do it last minute because a lot of rule changes, a lot of law changes in the last second, how to implement it. But keep in mind that people are doing a return. If it's not yourself and there's someone else you're hiring to do it, they are people too. There are a lot of times they will miss deadlines. You are not the only person who is filing a tax credit. It's over hundreds of millions of people filing for their taxes. Now keep in mind, when you file your taxes, if you do it right the first time, you pay your accountant well, maybe do it yourself, like let's say using TurboTax, or maybe use your own filing software. Just double check and make sure all information is correctly. Check on the IRS website, maybe they have like a new child tax credit policy for this season. And if they don't, then you can file earlier. If they do, you can wait until that time is up, then implement a new law change, you take advantage of it, then it's benefits for you. That's how you get your refund. And like every year, it's tax season during March 15, and the next deadline is on April 15. So if you have any more comments or questions, make sure you comment down below and subscribe. And if you have any other comments on what happens you got like this specific form, comment down below and I'll try to help you out and answer as soon as possible. See you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.